So that was a little bit of an unexpected, well, I mean, sort of expected because we both took us to win, but low scoring affair. A lot of defensive showings today from a lot of our guys, and 16-6. Now we're on top of the AFC West, NFC West, and I'm feeling pretty good about this team moving forward. What do you think about the victory today against Arizona at home? Which home win? It's about time. We haven't had a home win since Miami.
Yeah, I feel like, today we, at least for a day, reclaimed the Lumen Field defensive advantage that we should have for every home game, where this crowd noise really just creates a feedback loop with the defensive pass rush. Because especially, just first and foremost, Leonard Williams today, oh my God, was he a monster. And that's something we're gonna need down the stretch here, but he was unblockable today. The impact he had, not only the 2.5 sacks, not only the multiple tackles for a loss, but just the disruption he was causing constantly in the backfield. I think out of everything that happened today, the thing that screamed, like, that speaks the most volumes, we held James Conner to 8 yards rushing on 7 carries. And this is a guy that's been one of the best running backs in the league this season. This is a rushing attack that has been one of the best in the league this season. I don't want to say, we're back too soon, but we might be back, maybe, when it comes to defense in Seattle at home in particular.
Well, I mean, think about the games these Arizona Cardinals just played. Their last game, well, they had a bye week last week, but they just kicked the shit out of the Jets. And then the game before that, they kicked the shit out of the Bears. So, like, they have a high-powered offense. And to hold Kyler Murray, not even scoring a touchdown today, um, pretty impressive. Yeah, I'm looking at the stats now. Really didn't give up anything on the ground all day. I guess Demercado had a 14-yard attempt, but that was his lone attempt of the day.
Yeah, holding this team to 49 rushing yards is really impressive, because when you add in Kyler's rushing threat himself, that was the biggest thing I was kind of worried about in playing this Cardinals team, was them running the ball all over us, because it's been a problem for most of this season. Granted, the trend recently has been a lot better, especially since we made the change at the linebacker level. But I thought that was their best chance to have success against this defense, and it was utterly putrid from their perspective. They could get nothing going, and we were living in the backfield. I know Kyler Murray threw for close to 300 yards, but um, both teams had 5 sacks today. It was just, I think the biggest unexpected part of this game, as you mentioned at the start of this, was how much of a defensive, just, slobber knocker this was. Like, the
Yeah.
Cardinals, buckle up, had this defense ready to play. To give the Cardinals credit, like, that, the amount of batted balls this defensive line on the Cardinals got today was so not fluky, but just wild.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were plays where it looked like we were going to have a big chunk play, but nothing was easy out there for either team today. There was really only a couple of splash plays in either direction, but I think we're starting to see things show up for this Seahawks team that aren't, I think we can safely say, are an actual trend, and maybe the sign of things to come, and not just a one-off thing. Number one, as we mentioned to start this thing off, the defense looks like it's turned a corner here. Number two, JSN is starting to ascend to something that, frankly, I didn't even think we'd see this early in his career. And he's been our number one receiver for 3 weeks in a row, like, clearly. And that's with DK playing these last 2 games.
Yeah, you could make an argument based on these last three games he's had that he's a more efficient receiver than DK.
He might be. He
Like,
might be.
if it's third down, I almost feel more comfortable going to him than DK. because DK, I mean, I love DK, but he's Mr. dropped contested catches when you need it the most.
Yeah, and
And
I mean it even.
JSN is, oh, I was
I was
just gonna
just
say,
gonna
sorry, go ahead.
go. I was just gonna say it even happened today, but as you were saying,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, as far as just it's recency bias for sure, but JSN the past 3 games, I mean, he had 200-yard games before today, and he had 6 catches, 77 yards, and a tutty. So we'll take that every day of the week.
yeah, he should have been MVP for us against the Rams. We should have won that game, and his amazing performance shouldn't just be a footnote that everyone forgot in history. He's been like arguably a top 5 receiver of the NFL the last 3 weeks. And I don't think that's going to necessarily hold at that crazy clip, but we needed every yard of it today. We only got 285 yards on offense today. We could not run the ball again. It's really getting to a point where it almost seems to not matter who we're playing this season. We're just not going to be able to run the ball on anyone. So that's going to be a challenge down the stretch in every game we play. But the good thing is we were 7 of 14 on third down today. And that the last time we really touched the ball in meaningful fashion, I think it was an 8-minute drive we had in the fourth quarter for that 50-yard field goal to basically put the game out of reach. That's awesome. You don't have to light up the stat sheet if you're possessing the ball, if you're converting on third downs, moving the chains, and getting points when the opportunities are there. I look at this game as really it kind of should have been a blowout in our perspective. Like I feel like we should have won like 23-6, 19-6 at least, because I think overall Gino played kind of a, I would give him like a B for this game. It could have been an A minus if not for that unbelievably bad red zone interception. Like it's kind of the story of Gino's season is it's like 92% excellent, but then when the bad hits, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
it's Gino doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but when he makes mistakes, they're so bad. Like I don't know. I gotta think eventually this roller coaster that's been his season will stabilize in the right direction. But it didn't cost us today. It didn't end up mattering. And that
Yeah.
throw he hit to DK over the middle on third down when he got out of pressure, ran to his right and threw across his body to like the 50-yard line. You remember that play?
Yeah.
That was special. And that's the Gino risk taking that we're gonna need in big situations.
Well, what I wanted to say was when was the last time we've beaten a good team, but we had like a sound 2-score lead when time was dwindling? And like I can't really remember a time where we were in a situation like that and
Yeah, I mean,
we
like
won
technically,
soundly.
technically you could say like the Dolphins because they're kind of a good team now. But when we played them, they were a joke. So I agree. Yeah, I feel like it's been years.
Yeah.
I feel like the last time we really had a victory that sound against a team that I thought was good was like against the Chargers 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. That's true because we did beat them like that. That was one of the games that surprised me, and that was kind of like a breakout Geno game. I remember.
Yeah, that made me believe that 2022 was going to be a special year, but then we followed it up with losing to fucking 96-year-old Tom Brady in Germany. So that was kind of the end of that magic. But yeah, I think Mike McDonald is starting to get these guys to play with the vision that he had in mind when he became our coach on defense. And it's really, really exciting, man, because this is a very good Cardinals offense we just played. They just put up over 30 on a very talented Jets defense a week ago. This isn't a fluke at this point. We've had now, first 3 games of the year, and then the last 3 games, even though we lost to the Rams, that's 6 excellent defensive performances overall.
Mhm.
Um, I really feel like at this point that the only thing holding this team back, if current trends continue, is this offense and this offensive line. I hate to say it in every podcast. We had Anthony Bradford go down today. It looks like it will keep him out for at least a few weeks. He was walking around in crutches towards the end of the game, so
Mhm.
not a good sign. Hope he heals up quick because I didn't really notice Christian Haynes. He didn't get any penalties, but I have to think that since this coaching staff has had such a close eye on both those guys and they continue to start Bradford, there's probably a reason for it. But it's never something that helps your team when a starting offensive lineman goes down. So that's unfortunate, but at least now we get to see what we have in the rookie, I suppose, if there's a positive.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I guess maybe it happened. I can't remember every play of the game, but I didn't notice him like getting beat every play after play, like we've seen throughout the season with some of our other names that on our offensive line throughout the year.
Yeah, we did have to stomach watching LJ Collier cook Lakin Tomlinson early on in the game and get a
That
sack.
sucked.
I
Yeah.
would I would like to have the Men in Black like wipe that from my memory because that was painful.
Yeah.
that was hard to see unfold. But yeah, I guess so that like this game was weird because it almost felt like you remember in 2014 when the Seahawks won a couple games like 19-3 or something like that.
Hmm.
This reminded me so much of those types of games where it just felt like at a certain point it was almost more fun watching the defense. Like you felt like the big plays were happening purely on defense, especially that Kobe Bryant pick six, man. He has been such a factor for this defense since and it's unfortunate that injuries brought him back into the playing time position, but since he's been in there, he really seems to have found a home at that safety position. And on that play, it was so wild because we had the fourth down stop where Mike had just called a timeout. We were all like, what the fuck? No, why'd you do that? And then you have Devin Witherspoon read that play action like a book and pin down Kyler Murray, one of the most dynamic athletes that's ever played quarterback in the NFL, totally isolated, which caused the errant throw that led to the pick six. It just
Hmm.
just beautiful.
Yeah. When has that ever worked out for us too? Like calling a timeout and then after the fact, the play turns out to be a disaster for us. Like it was good to
Yeah,
see the ball flip the other or ball bounce the other way.
for sure. Just that situation you brought up immediately makes me think
The
of the
Falcons game.
Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one still stings, 12 fucking years later.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that obviously was the turning point in this game. And I I don't know, man. Like I really feel like what we're seeing out of this defense is sustainable and to have a little just to kind of come back to something we talked about in the last podcast in regards to Uchenna Nwosu. Um, I don't know if he's going to be back this week, but it sort of sounded like he will be back this season.
Hmm.
And I do think when we get him back, it's going to be a boost to this defense for sure. Because I think Derek Hall and Boye Mafe have done great this season, but they've had to play a lot. And when you can, I mean, it's just such a big deal when you have more top tier guys to rotate in on your defensive line.
Yeah. It's also encouraging to see the two games we just played with our defense playing up to par in the Niners and the Cardinals today. Those are two opponents that see us all the time. So the
Yeah.
fact that we had an answer for them offensively and they didn't have an answer for us and our defense, it's pretty encouraging because I even told my dad because my dad he's playing you in fantasy and he was like, "Do I start Kyler Murray or Gino?" And he started Kyler, but I was like, I kind of think you should start Gino just because uh, I feel like our defense, they had the bye week, they had the addition of Ernest Jones. I just kind of had a feeling like, all right, they're either gonna like this is the time when they start to figure it out and play in sync with each other because we're in week 12. Like
Mm.
I think they've had time to figure this thing out and I mean they looked good last week. They got the monkey of not beating the Niners for six straight opportunities. So it's a good feeling to have that defense out there and look like the Seahawks of old potentially.
For sure. And it's funny because after this game was getting to the point where it was pretty much over, the broadcast showed that we had beaten the Cardinals 6 times in a row. And you and I both were like, what? It's been that many times in a row. Like it just kind of shows a different dynamic between this rivalry and the rivalry with the 49ers. Because losing 6 games to the 49ers in a row was like having me on like suicide watch. But beating this Cardinals team 6 times in a row wasn't even a blip on the radar. Like
Yeah.
it's just different. That the hatred for the 49ers runs deep for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess I don't have too much else to say about this game. Not a good offensive game, but it was good enough for the victory. Um, Shout out basically everyone on the defense, but especially Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, Leonard Williams, Ernest Jones. We even had Tyrese Knight, the rookie, getting his first career sack in this game. So there's probably not a player on defense that I'm not happy with right now for sure. But I got to think eventually this offense is going to figure things out and we'll start putting up 25, 30 points a game again.
Yeah, who do we play next week?
We got the Jets.
Oh, hell yeah.
We
Yeah,
got them about at the lowest point in their season too. So
which could be an issue. This could be the Giants part 2.
it's you're right. It's either going to be they give us everything they have, but I kind of feel like they already got that out of the way when they played the Texans a few weeks back.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
I think they're at the point of utter toxicity in the locker room where they're just not even going to show up. But I guess we'll save that discussion for the game preview this week. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be an interesting one. It's not a must win like I labeled this one, but it sure as hell be nice to be 7-5 in a week from now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
agreed.
I guess last thing I really have to say about all this right now is the Rams just got throttled at home by the Eagles. So we are now alone at the top of the NFC West, even after a 2-game skid and a 3-game skid where this team looked dead. We're the number 3 seed in the playoffs if the season were to end today. So we got everything to play for, man. And when you're heading into the month of December in NFL football, that's like kind of all you can ask for. So really stoked, all things considered.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were the 3 seed. I guess I haven't looked at the standings after today, but
And it's
that's
that
crazy.
Falcons win. That Falcons win puts us over them in the standings because of the NFC South leaders. But yeah, we got a month before any of that really matters. But it's where you want to be at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, that's pretty much all I had for this one too. So I guess we'll see you guys on Wednesday or Thursday or whenever we do it.
Yeah. Thanks for checking in, guys, and we will see you in a few days.